Okay, so everyone, welcome to our webinar this evening. This is actually the first of a three-part series about building relationships in your family. And for the month of October, we're focusing on the parent and partner relationships that you have with the person that you co-parent with. And so each of these sessions is also a standalone webinar. So if you're not able to make it all three, don't worry about that. You can come and pick a la carte which ones you're going to be participating in. We are very lucky to have Karina Barr as our presenter this evening. Karina is an intern with United Angels Foundation this semester. She's a senior at Utah Valley University, majoring in family science, and she plans to go on to get her master's in marriage and family therapy. She and her husband live in Saratoga Springs with their 2 children, and Karina grew up in Orem and Pleasant Grove. She comes from a big family with 13 children. She has a younger sister with cerebral palsy and a younger sister with Down syndrome. So the special needs community is very close to Karina's heart, and we're so happy to have her. In her spare time, she likes playing video games with her kids, watching the Great British Bake Off, and she's very passionate about helping others and is excited to be working with United Angels for this semester. So Karina, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sylvia. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. So like Sylvia said, I've created a 3-part webinar series to help build greater relationship with ourselves and our spouses. And then to start off the series, I'll be discussing stress and the ways that it impacts us and how we can learn to cope or handle stress better. So it's my hope at the end of this webinar that you have a stronger foundation for helping you feel empowered to take on any challenges that life may throw at you. So let's start this. So what is stress? So according to the American Psychological Association, they define it as the psychological or physiological or psychological response to each internal or external stressors. So it's just, feeling overwhelmed or unable to cope with the mental or emotional pressures. And stress can happen at any given time in someone's life. You may be going along through life and are hit with stress, or might have stress that results in something that you have planned. Stressors or the cause of stress can be a one-time event, or they can happen continuously over a long period of time. So stress doesn't make us a failure. It doesn't mean that we're not trying our best in life. So when stress happens, our brain and our body react, and they tell each other how to handle the situation. During this process, our bodies produce cortisol. So cortisol is just a hormone that's produced. It's triggered during the stress response. Normal levels of cortisol help the body function, but too much can negatively impact our bodies. So cortisol is actually good for us to have, but if we hold on to it for too long, it can start impacting us negatively. So when we get into that stress response, we either have a fight, flight, or freeze response to that stress. This is a natural response that our bodies do to prepare to protect ourselves from danger. Some people may become aggressive or fight by throwing things to avoid danger. Some people may run or flee away from something that is dangerous. And then some people may dissociate or freeze from the danger. So then how does that impact us? When stress impacts us, it affects us physiologically or psychologically. And you might have, just the physiological symptoms, or you may have the psychological symptoms, or you may have a combination of both, but not everyone will experience stress the same way. So some of those physiological symptoms you may experience under stress would be nausea, muscle tension, heart pounding, difficulty focusing, the dizziness or lightheadedness or trembling. And then I forgot to add a lot of people experience dry mouth under stress. So you may have some of these symptoms, or you may not have any of these symptoms at all under stress. And then some of the psychological symptoms that we experience under stress would be anxiety, sadness and depression, anger, and then feeling overwhelmed. Feeling some of these or all of these can be an indicator that your body is suffering from stress. And again, you might not experience any of these symptoms. You might just experience the physiological symptoms. But yeah, it's just your body's way of telling you that your body is under some stress. So when it comes to different types of stress we experience, we have two common ones, and those are normative and non-normative. Under normative stress, we have the normative stress are things that we anticipate and we usually prepare for, but causes stress during the preparation. So, if you've ever taken a vacation, leading up to the vacation, getting everybody packed, getting everything ready, making it to the airport on time, or making sure the car is ready to go for that long drive. That all that can be stressful, but it's something that you expected. And then new marriage, new child, regardless of how happy those situations are, leading up to a new marriage can be a stressful time. Right after having a new baby can be happy, but it can also be very stressful. And then things like taking a test, training for a marathon, or the death of an elderly loved one, something that you expect. Those are the normal normative stresses that we have in our life. And then we come to non-normative. Now, these are things that catch us off guard, things that we hadn't planned for, such as sudden loss of job, car accident, sudden death, or unexpected death of a loved one, natural disaster, or terrorist attack. So when it comes to stress with special needs children, just know that each child and each situation is going to be different, and each family is going to approach stress differently. And then I'll reiterate that stress doesn't make you a failure, and it doesn't mean that you aren't doing your best. So some of these you may relate to, some of these you may not, but just because you don't share the same stressors that other families or individuals have doesn't mean that you're any less stressed. So some of these could be a new diagnosis, and then trying to learn everything you can about it. And then finding and learning out about treatments that may be required for your child. And then physical and emotional demands a child with special needs requires, doctor visits and potential surgeries or hospital stays. And then making sure that your school facilitates your child and their needs, such as doing the IEPs or other documentations that are required for school. And then increased expenses. These could come from increased medical bills, the cost of childcare, the loss of a job, if you need to, potentially quit your job to help care for your child, or even doing home renovations to help facilitate your child and their needs. And then last, feeling like you're juggling multiple things all the time. Again, not everybody is going to express stress the same way, but here are some ways that stress does come out. So fear that your child's health and future, fear that, are they healthy and strong? Are they suffering? Am I able to provide the quality of life they deserve? And then guilt for not being able to spend enough time with your children, maybe your spouse or your partner or other family members and friends. And then, am I being am I a good employee? Am I able to give my job the attention it needs? So like, am I able to focus? Because, you have all these stresses in your life. Am I able to like focus on my job? And then feeling resentment towards your spouse or partner for, giving more attention and time to your special needs child. And then isolation, missing time with extended family or friends, missing out on events, and then just feeling like nobody understands your situation and what you're going through. And this is a common one for families with special needs children. They just kind of feel like they're in their own little bubble that, nobody else, none of their friends or family understand them and their situation. And then last, grief over the, quote unquote, normal life that you had envisioned for your child, and the potential things that your child, might miss out in their life. But I will say that, fortunately, there are some really good programs out there that help, incorporate or help empower special need individuals to gain independence so that they're able to hold down a job or to possibly move out on their own. So when we think about bottling stress in, we can think about shaking a soda bottle. So every time you keep your feelings to yourself, the pressure builds up until one day it explodes. So when this happens, it can be an explosion of emotions, and you might experience all of those emotions on the last slide all at once. So what do we do with all those emotions that we're feeling? We learn to cope. So the goal of coping is to reduce or master the stressor or conflict. So in learning to cope, there are three main approaches to coping, and those are appraisal focused, problem focused, and emotion focused. So in appraisal focused, this just means that the individual is going to change the way they think about the stressor. You may end up changing your goals or values to better understand ways to help your stress. Some examples of those are distancing or distracting from the problem, just taking a step back. Using rational thinking, which means just to be, level-headed and, think of the stressor as a real thing and not something that, doesn't need to be confronted. And then using positive humor, being able to laugh and make jokes. And then some people turn to their religion, discovering ways that your faith can help reduce or process your stress. The next approach would be problem focused, which, just like the name suggests, you're going to use your best problem solving skills to process the stress. So some examples of those would be to do research about the stressor and become an expert. So doing research takes us back to one of the stressors that parents with special needs children go through. But once you do the research and understand your child's condition better, that stressor is either reduced or eliminated. And then taking responsibility for your stressor. So that means, you've got a big test coming up, you're going to study for that test. If you've got a marathon coming up, you're going to train for that test or for that marathon. And if you don't do those things, you're going to be getting bad grades or, hurting yourself during that run. And then learning to set boundaries. So setting boundaries can be a great way to reduce stress. And don't feel bad for allowing you and your spouse and family some time, some space to process that stress. And then reaching out to a support system or creating your own support system. So support systems can help us by coming together with others in similar situations and leaning on each other for that guidance. So then we have emotion focused. So you're going to use your emotions to help modify or cope with a stressor. So under emotion focus, though, there are positive and negative ways that you can approach coping approaches. So under emotion focused, the positive side, you're going to find ways to eliminate or reduce the emotional response with positivity. So that just means, replacing negative thoughts with positive ones, such as using words of affirmation. And then you're going to lean on your social support. So you're going to allow others to into your space to help you cope. And just like it's okay to set boundaries, it's also okay to invite people into your space to help you out. And then using exercise or physical activity is a good way to help you cope. And then learning to manage or control your feelings. So, sorry, I know it's a word. So some people might not understand the emotions or certain stressors could actually bring up old traumas for them. So talking to a therapist or a life coach to help understand your feelings better is a good way to use emotion-focused approach. And then negative ways that emotion-focused are used. So suppression of emotion. So just like we saw, that slide with the soda bottle, we don't want to suppress our emotions to the point where our feelings aren't being cared for. It's okay to need help. And then ignoring the problem. That might be a nice temporary solution to put that stress on the back burner, but eventually, you're going to have to deal with it. And then avoidance and dulling of emotion. So, there are healthy and unhealthy ways to respond to stress. And these responses are the adaptive and the maladaptive responses. So in an adaptive response to stress, you're going to use these coping mechanisms to deal with the stressors, such as leaning on support system, exercise and meditation, or turning to professionals for help. In a maladaptive response to stress, the individual will use unhealthy coping mechanisms to deal with the stress. So you're going to use avoidance or denial, which I will add is it's different from the distracting or distancing or taking a step back. This is just completely not giving it any attention that it needs and just putting on the back burner. And then some people turn to drugs or alcohol to numb their feelings. So it's not healthy or realistic to ignore stress. Maladaptive responses to stress are not good long-term ways to handle stress. So we come to ways that we can handle stress. We start off with focusing on your health. Eating healthy. There are great websites out there that have healthy recipes. You could also go to the library and check out some recipe books to help you eat. Focus on healthy eating. And then exercise regularly. Take time every day to get 30 minutes to an hour of exercise. Lots of studies have shown that exercise is actually good for our mental health. And there's lots of free websites or free apps, that have free workouts. And then YouTube is another great source for free workouts. And then get plenty of sleep. So, you want to aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night, which I know, not everybody has the luxury of doing that, especially those with babies. But try to get as much sleep as possible, even if you have to take a nap during the day. Oops, sorry. So you could also, I know with my phone, I can set up a bedtime reminder so that it tells me, when my bedtime is, so that I can start winding down before bedtime. And then if you want to invest in like a white noise machine, those are great. That's a great thing to help you get some much needed rest at night. It helps. I have one of those, and it helps me to fall asleep because I have a hard time falling asleep at night. But the white noise machine kind of it helps my brain to shut off and go to sleep. And then relaxation. So yoga, deep breathing, massage, and meditation. So, even taking a few minutes every day to do some stretches and deep breathing can help center us and release some great endorphins that help us to handle stress better. Again, there are free apps out there that have yoga workouts, and there's YouTube videos that have free yoga workouts. And then for meditation, Headspace, that app, that's actually a really good app that has free meditation exercises in it. And then maybe look into your health insurance. I know that some health insurances give discounts on yoga classes or massage or Headspace. So then healing through writing. So keeping a journal, writing down your thoughts or feelings, blog or keep a journal via social media. So journaling can be very therapeutic and can help us understand our emotions. If you don't want to keep your feelings, a record of your feelings, just write them down on a piece of paper and then throw that piece of paper away. And then if you're really open about sharing your feelings, try starting a blog or journaling through any of the social media platforms. This is a good way. There's a good ways to, get your feelings out there. Another way I've seen people process grief or stress or, just their emotions is to start a podcast. I've listened to several podcasts of, different situations of parents that are dealing with grief and stress, and it seems to be very therapeutic for them. All right, so things you enjoy. So, starting or developing a hobby, reading books, listening to your favorite music, or watching your favorite movie or TV show. So like if you've always wanted to learn how to crochet or to bake or to paint, do it. A lot of your local craft store will have classes that you can go take, or even your local community center. They'll have hobby classes that you can go and take, and they have different experience levels. And then, if you have a library card, use it. I know a lot of libraries have access to audiobooks that you can download with your library card. So you can, take advantage of that and listen to audiobooks, or some even have access to digital downloads. So you can download or upload it to your Kindle. So yeah, just use your library card or go to your local bookstore and just find a book that you've always been interested in reading and read it. And then listening to your favorite music. So music can be very therapeutic. So, blast your music, have a dance party with your kids. And then, if you've always wanted to watch a show, but just haven't had time to, make the time. Spending time on ourselves feels like a luxury, but it's something that we can all afford to do. So the next would be to focus on your relationships. So, going to dinner with friends, taking a family vacation, texting or phone calls to friends and family, or planning parties or get-togethers with friends. Sometimes, especially since, life can be chaotic, we forget to take time for friends and family. So, plan a girls' night, plan a guys' night, go do those. Schedule play dates for kids and for the adults. Get to know other families in our UAF community. Take a vacation once a year, or do several, staycations throughout the year. Just take that time to disconnect from work and school and other activities to focus and build bonds with your families. And then, group chats or group texts are a good way to keep in contact with extended family or friends. Socialization is healthy for everyone, including us introverts. I'm a huge introvert, and COVID lockdowns were like perfect for me, but getting out there and socializing with other people when we can helps our mental health. And then finding humor, having a sense of humor, being able to laugh or joke about life, watching funny movies, reading joke books. It's okay to laugh, whether it be going to see a funny movie or going to a comedy club. Laughter is definitely great medicine. I was gonna say, my son has this book of dad jokes that he likes to pull out every once in a while, and we just, it's a fun book that has like, so many dad jokes, and we just have fun time reading and laughing. And then giving back to community. So volunteer in your community. Look for ways to participate in events that interest you. Donate to organizations that help groups that you're interested in. So being able to volunteer in our community with organizations such as UAF gives us a greater appreciation for those in our community who need our support and our friendships. So organize your life. So make schedules, make menus, plan things out. Declutter your home. I've seen lots of blogs that have these calendars, monthly calendars that help you declutter your home day by day. Just, start small. Prioritize the most important things in your life. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't add too many things to the pile. And then make a budget. Even a little bit of organization can go a long way to helping us de-stress and focus more on the important things in our life. And then lastly, reaching out for help. So seeking professional counseling, joining or starting a support group, talking to your doctor or healthcare professional. So therapists can design a plan to help you cope with stress. Facebook or social media platforms have different support groups that you can join, or you can start up one so that you can meet other parents that are in similar situations with you. And then, don't be afraid to talk to your doctor or healthcare professional. They're there to help you get the help that you need. Okay, so stress-free zone. So creating a stress-free zone in your house. Should be a place where you go where you can relax whenever you need to. So when I say stress-free zone, I don't mean, you need to turn your, a room in your house into the stress-free zone. I'm just talking about someplace where you go to feel safe. Somewhere where you can go to play calm and relaxing music. Someplace where you can go to read an uplifting book. Also hang inspirational quotes up on the wall. to give you that encouragement. And then making a plan. So sit down with your spouse and discuss any stress that you've been having and plan how you're going to handle that stress. And this is the most important step for couples, to be open and honest with each other. So you and your spouse should be there for each other, to lean on and help each other. And then studies have shown that parents who show their children resiliency through stressful times can actually pass that example down to their kids, so that one day when their kids are going through a stressful challenge, they'll think back to how, oh, my parents handled it this way, and so I'm going to do it just like that. So you're actually giving them a good foundation to help them overcome, their stressful challenges that they'll experience later in life. So in closing, I just want to remind you that, not every individual is different, and you'll respond to stress differently. Drop expectations of how you feel and how you should be able to handle stress. The goal of coping is to find solutions that fit your needs and your lifestyle. Some find that a combination of the different coping styles help. So I want you to experiment and be patient with yourself, because you're not going to you might not find a solution right away to handle your stress, and that's okay. And then don't be afraid to reach out and ask for references or resources. I know that UAF is a great place to start. Sylvia and Kari are experts in a lot of things and can help you guys out with that. So that is it.
Thank you, Karina. At this time, we want to open it up for questions. So if you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to unmute your microphone and turn on your camera if you'd like to interact that way, or if you'd prefer to write in the chat box, you're welcome to do that as well. Yes, Chelsea, feel free to unmute your microphone if you'd like.
Hi, Sylvia. Hi, Karina. Thanks so much for the presentation tonight. I was wondering, Karina, if you could talk about how couples, when couples are, both members of a couple are stressed out at the same time, because for me, it's really easy to support my partner if he's stressed, but I'm in a good space. But, having a child with a disability, we're both very stressed out at the same time about the same thing. And I just wonder how, I can get support from him without dumping all my anxieties on top of his, if that makes sense. And vice versa. I find that sometimes listening to his fears and grief just amps up my own rather than sharing the burden.
Just sitting down and talking with each other. You may find that, sitting and talking and understanding each other helps you. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so sitting down and talking with each other, it doesn't, maybe take time, separate time. Maybe, we're going to set aside time this time, and I'm going to talk about my feelings without any judgment. And then you're going to set aside time for the other, your spouse or partner, and talk about your feelings during that time without any judgment, just so that you have your space for your feelings to be expressed, and your spouse has time for their feelings to be expressed. Maybe do it, maybe on a Sunday, sit down and talk, and then maybe, give that a few days for you to process that. And then, a few days later, sit down and talk about your, the other stress. Aw.
Sometimes just looking at the baby is a de-stresses.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Karina.
Mhm.
And thank you for that great question. Do we have any other questions or comments? And feel free to either unmute your microphone or use the chat box. Karina, while we wait just a moment to see if anyone is typing or maybe kind of collecting their thoughts, can you
Mhm.
give us a little sneak peek about your next 2 webinars coming up in this series?
Yeah. So next week we're going to do the importance of dating your spouse. So we'll have some really good ideas for you to do, at home dates, or yeah, just some fun date night ideas. And then the next week we'll be building or working together as a team to help you guys build a better bond.
We have a comment in the chat box. Great information. Thank you. And right now I'm going to put an email address in the chat box. This is a great way to contact Karina. If you do have follow-up questions, or if you have topics and ideas that you would like her to address in more detail at her upcoming webinars, you're welcome to email info@unitedangels.org. And we'll make sure that information gets to Karina so she can get back to you, or make sure that she can incorporate those questions and thoughts that you would like to see addressed in her upcoming webinars. Okay, great. Well, I think I don't see any other questions in the chat. Thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time in your evening to spend this time to work on yourself and your relationship with your partner and your family. We really see that the parent and co-parenting relationship is a huge foundation for the rest of your family. And so we're really excited that Karina could present this topic. And we have 2 more evenings together in this area. Karina, thank you so much for presenting. That was great information. We're really, really grateful to have you as our intern this semester, and we look forward to the next one. Hope you guys all have a great evening, and we'll see you next week. Okay.
Thanks, Karina. Good job.
Thanks.